Very good afternoon to all of you. How are you? Good afternoon. I think you guys are way ahead of me. Some of you have already started asking me questions. So, welcome to the class. I'm Sukanya. You already know me, right? I hope so by now. And today we are here for another session on the Hindu editorial analysis. Okay, I hope you guys are ready. And today let's spice things up a little bit. So what we are going to do is we are going to have a question of the day, and basically anybody who gives the best answer, that comment is going to get pinned. I think you must have already started this activity with Shazli ma'am, and Vaishnavi, same old. So, although my throat is a little better, so thank you for asking. Good afternoon, everyone, for those who have joined us just now. Okay, so let's start with today's class. Let's get ready. Sanchit, I am okay. Not that great, but yeah, I'm still recuperating. Recuperating means I'm still recovering. Let's hope I get better soon. Okay, so let's start with the class today, and I hope you can see my screen. So, let's start with the first word of the day, and that is spearheaded. And spearheaded actually has the word head in it, right? And it actually stands for somebody who leads. So if somebody is spearheading a team, that means they are leading the team. For example, we have captains in school, we have president, who is the highest authority when it comes to the government, right? So anybody who heads a particular department or a team is known as the spearheaded person or the spearhead of a particular team. Okay, Sakshi, same here. How are you? So as you can see, spearheaded is a verb and it is used as leading, especially an attack or a movement. That means a team leader in simple words. Let's see its usage. So this move is spearheaded by Miss Wilson. What does that mean? Miss Wilson is the head of this particular movement. Similarly, I can give you another example here. Hitler spearheaded the Nazis. My friend spearheaded the school cricket team. Sanchit, we don't really need to use the helping verb there. My friend spearheaded the school cricket team because you're already using the verb spearheaded, right? The next one is bedrock. Now, this is one word which you might have seen in probably your science textbooks. And this is a very common one, and generally it's used in in the context of science. But यहाँ पे there is another meaning to it, and that's more towards the context of a particular passage. So bedrock का मतलब होता है the foundation, the basis, the core of something. For example, um, if your foundation is not really strong, will you be able to, excel in a particular field? Obviously, no. So it's imperative, it's very, very essential that the bedrock of every study is solid. Okay? Like, honesty is the bedrock of a good relationship. I think everybody would agree to that. If there is no honesty, then there is no foundation. As simple as that. Hi, Priya, how are you? The movement was spearheaded by the teachers' union. Very good example, Samiksha. The research regarding the nuances of the new discovery was spearheaded by Mr. Johnson. Lovely example. Rakesh Tikait was spearheading the farm protest in 2029, 2019 and 20, right? Vedansh, very good example. So let's move to bedrock now. I would like to see more examples on bedrock. His strength was the bedrock for his team members. Good morning, Preetham. I'm also well. How are you? Drishti, Mahatma Gandhi was this Mahatma Gandhi spearheaded the non-violence movement. And kindness is the bedrock of humanity. Exactly. Without kindness, obviously, there's no humanity. Lovely example. कोई बात नहीं, Vedansh. I understood. The next one is penury. And penury, you can remember from poverty, something that talks about the state of being very, very poor, extreme poverty. We are talking about below poverty line people. They live in penury. Okay? And let's see an example here. The simple reality for most people is that they must save more if they want to avoid penury in old age. Obviously, generally people live in a way which is not really, I would say, oozes, which does not really ooze of wealth or money, and they just try to make both the ends meet. So, if they want to have a comfortable old age, then obviously they need to save a lot of money for that to avoid penury in the later stages of life. Obviously, जब हम बूढ़े हो जाते हैं, तो उस समय पे our physical strength is not as much, right? So we cannot really involve ourselves into hard hitting tasks. So obviously पहले से ही अगर हम अपने old age के लिए पैसा सेव करें तो we can easily avoid penury, right? Fundamental rights are the bedrock for every citizen. Very good example, Avi. I think Aishwarya has given us another example. Subhash Chandra Bose was the bedrock of independence. Exactly. All of our famous freedom fighters, they were all bedrocks, right? To our success, to get a free Swatantra India. Moving to the next one, in toto, and this is a foreign phrase. So there are two foreign phrases that we are going to discuss today. The first one is in toto, and you can kind of remember it through in totality. That's exactly the meaning of this foreign phrase, and this has been taken from Latin. And if I talk about the part of speech, it's used as an adverb. And जब हम बात करते हैं in toto, that means I'm talking about something completely, in totality, entirely, wholly. मुझे ये जो phrase है वो ऐसे याद रहता है because I find these foreign phrases very much related to the English language. Don't you think? Current situation in Pakistan has led them to penury. The penury of her family was very ominous. Very good. Both of you, Drishti and Vaishnavi. So, whenever you're talking about something in totality, start using the Latin phrase in toto instead. And let's see the usage. I differ from him in toto on that. That means I differ from him completely on that. Okay, it's very easy to remember, I guess, right? She was She was dressed in toto in Gucci. That means her entire wardrobe was from the brand Gucci. Okay. Another one, I listened to him in toto. Can we say undivided attention? And undividedly. Hard work is the bedrock of success. Very good example, Preetham. So you can use in toto as completely, wholly, entirely. I have used two examples here. You can also come up with your own set of examples. He went on to say that the quotes must be accepted in toto or rejected. Exactly. She was in toto a One Direction fan. Drishti, I know that you are. Preetham, we cannot use it like that. Penury is actually a noun, so you cannot use it with another noun because then it will be an adjective, right? So you can use it like that. People who come from penury are so kind-hearted. The manager differs in toto from his employees. Prima facie, she seemed formidable, but she was in toto quite harmless. Very good. The next one, the next foreign phrase is in extenso. Any guesses? What's the meaning of in extenso? क्योंकि in toto का मतलब तो in totality होता है. So in extenso क्या हो सकता है? Any guesses? I would like you to, use the hint which is given in the foreign phrase itself and tell me what could be the meaning. Batao. In extenso. So extenso is related to extension. Very good, Avi. So in extenso का मतलब होता है in addition to or in extension of something or to expand something. Very good, Sakshi, Vaishnavi, Avi. All of you have guessed it right. वही मैंने बोला ना कि foreign phrases are very much similar to your English language. So in extenso is at full length or in extension or in addition to something or to expand something. Very good. So let's see the usage of this foreign phrase. Again, this has been taken from Latin. The poem needs to be read in extenso. And then they have actually given us extra information regarding the poem. It is at once true and gutsy and ugly and will stay with you. Generally, the subject matter which is true, that means which is honest, which is gutsy, and which is ugly, such pieces of writing, they always stay with you, even after you have read them like many times before or you are just reading it for the first time. It just stays with you, right? तो यहाँ पे भी वही बोला गया है, the poem needs to be read in extenso or at full length. And this is going to stay with you forever. Another example is the speech in extenso was about equal rights for everyone. So that means the speech at length was about equal rights for everyone. Greek god Poseidon was in toto love with the goddess Athena by the end of the god spring. Sanidhya, are you interested in Greek mythology by any chance? I love reading about Greek and Roman mythology, so yeah, that's a fun example. In extenso, the protest set the alarm bells ringing by the extreme violence. Very good example, Vaishnavi. The passage was quoted in extenso. Lovely. So you guys have understood, and I think you will forever remember the meanings because these are so similar to English expressions. In toto, in totality, in extenso, in extension. So simple words, right? The next one is tedium. And tedium comes from the word tedious. Anything that's tedious is boring, it's dull, it's monotonous. So, a state of monotony and dullness is basically something that puts you in a tedium. Okay? And Priya has come up with a huge example here. Our behavior is a bedrock which defines in toto our life and doesn't okay, I think spearheaded can be used a little differently here. But if we spearhead any kind of movement, then we are penury. Okay, we are penury to our maturity. Penury can be used as a noun, but I'm not really sure whether it has been used as a noun in this sentence here. We can just rephrase that statement a little bit. The judges require in extenso information to avoid any wrong decision. Absolutely wonderful example, Drishti. Having less in extenso knowledge of a situation can lead to difficult situations. Absolutely, Avi. Very good example. Brilliant examples, by the way. So tedium का क्या मतलब होता है? It comes from the word tedious. Tedious means dull, boring, monotonous. So the usage is There's a general air of tedium in the room. That means generally this room is oozing monotony, dullness, everybody is bored. So, such type of, I would say, environment or surroundings obviously makes everybody fall asleep, right? So, another example here, the play was the epitome of tedium. What does that mean? If I want to describe the play, I would describe it as super dull and boring. The series was 3 hours of tedium. Very good, Samiksha. Um, Tepid, Avi, I think tepid is used for lukewarm, if you remember. So tedium and lukewarm doesn't really fit well, right? The derogatory remarks by neighbors, spearheaded by Mrs. Smith in toto, was quite tedium for her family. Yes, I think you have used most of the high frequency words here, Vaishnavi. A cricketer in neat, okay, needs in extenso of hard work. I think, Weber, we can just rephrase that statement a little bit. A cricketer needs hard work in extenso of his talent to win a game. The tedium of doing the same workout routine every day caused her to lose motivation. Wow, what a great example. Engineering is such a tedious profession. Sanidhya, you will be using the word tedious here, not tedium. Okay? Because tedium is a noun and you are using it as an adjective, so tedious is more likely to be the appropriate word there. Some movies give us a great sense of tedium. Yes, it has happened with all of us. We have watched certain movies and we have asked ourselves why it was so boring and why I continued watching it. I think the same goes for some of the reels, which are really cringe-worthy, but we still keep on, watching those reels till the very end. I think this has happened with all of us too, right? So the next one. Hi, good afternoon, Chavi. I think we have already like discussed 5 or 6 high frequency words. Chavi, you can watch the beginning of this particular session later on whenever you get time. Okay. So coming to the next word is demur, and demur is a verb, and it means to raise objections or show reluctance. And I think we all know people who raise objections towards our actions, our parents, isn't it? So my mother, my mom demurred my decision to get a tattoo. Let's see another example. The lawyer requested a break in the court case, but the judge demurred. That means the judge rejected it. स्पीयर हेडेड का मतलब होता है व्हेन यू लीड अ टीम, जैसे कि कैप्टन होता है, जैसे कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर होता है, प्रेसिडेंट होता है, या किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बॉस होते हैं या सीईओ होते हैं. दे आर स्पीयर हेडिंग अ टीम और अ डिपार्टमेंट. हैव यू अंडरस्टूड इट नाउ, ऐश्वर्या? इज इट क्लियर? And it's used as a verb. For example, they spearheaded the concert efficiently. Okay, Medansh, again, you need to use tedious there, not tedium. Sometimes I find Harry Potter series tedious for me, not tedium, tedious. Okay, and demurred का मतलब होता है to reject, to raise objections, to show reluctance. That means obviously when you will ask your parents to get a new tattoo, do you think they'll agree to you? Obviously no. Family members demur in our personal life. Without demur, law field is as tedious, no, is as tedious as something else. Here again, we need to use the word tedious. Dekho, tedium is a noun. Tedious is an adjective. An adjective is always preceded sorry, is always followed by a noun. So there's a difference. I'll actually use it in two examples so that you understand this one. Okay? For example, uh, the project was tedious. OUS, tedious for the team. Okay? Here I have used it as an adjective. And let me tell you how we can use tedium. Mm, the tedium of the day made me really lazy. Okay, so in the first one, I have used it as an adjective. In the second one, I have used it as a noun. Okay, so that's the difference. And just a second, let me erase this one. Okay, the next word, I think I forgot to read some of your examples. I demurred my father's decision to get an injection. Okay, she was used to being obeyed without demur. Lovely. She demurred my proposal. Very good. And my mother has demurred my bad behavior. Obviously, our parents, if they do not regulate us, then obviously we'll be a little crazy. We'll go a little crazy now and then. So, yeah, it's very important that at the right time, our parents intervene and demur some of our decisions. Um, okay, so Priya has given us another example. Usually, I want to go on a night out, but my parents always demur. Very good. I think none of our parents have ever agreed for us to go on night out. So I think we can all relate. The next one is detain, and detain can be used formally, and detain is a verb. When you detain somebody, that means you take them into custody. You basically delay a decision sometimes, and you basically hold up a person. So it's generally used as taking somebody into your custody. Okay, so let's see the usage here. I won't detain you any longer. Here I am using it as delay. I won't delay you any longer. The man was detained for bad behavior. That means the man was taken into custody for bad behavior. Okay? I was detained by the police officer for breaking a few rules. When there is injustice happening, as a human being, we need to demur our voice. No, Avi. I think you have used it in a very negative sense here. Dekho, when there is injustice, there we need to raise objections. That's how you want to use it, right? So when there is injustice, it's very important as a human being to demur when the time is right. The couple the couples were detained. Okay, Drishti, I think grammatically we can just improve or polish that sentence a little bit. Lord Edward was detained by his own nephew in charge of treason. Yes, exactly. Right from the pages of history. Pakistan's military was detained by Indian ex-military officer Kuldeep Jadhav. My parents demurred my hairstyle. Yeah, that has happened with, I think, a lot of people. CBI detained the criminal, and in toto, he successfully solved the case. Lovely. Let's see the next one. Dichotomy. Dichotomy का मतलब होता है a division or a separation. For example, when your thoughts and your friends' thoughts do not match. So there's a separation or there's a division, right? So there's a dichotomy in the way you both think. So dichotomy can be used like this. There is a dichotomy between the academic world and the industrial world. Obviously, these are two separate fields. So there's definitely a lot of division in terms of thought process, in terms of ideologies, right? The provisions for sustainable development, albeit the challenges, must be started immediately for the betterment of posterity. Okay, but Vaishnavi, which word have you used? I think we did discuss all of these words I think in our previous sessions, right? Are you trying to use one of these words? One of my friends got detained while taking alcohol. Okay, one of my friends got detained by the police officer when he was carrying alcohol. So there is dichotomy between the way I write and speak English. I think the way we speak I think very much differs from the way we write in English, right? The provisions for sustainable development, albeit the challenges, must not be detained. Yes, exactly. The couples, no, Priya, we cannot use dichotomy like that. You need to use it like a noun, okay? You are using it like a verb. So, the dichotomy between the newlyweds was quite annoying for the others. There was dichotomy between ideology and Sanchit, you need to add another word there. Okay? The judge declared to detain the criminal. Exactly, Vaibhav. And it is a uh, potent, politically potent law or politically potent statement, but false dichotomy. Dichotomy between brothers is due to fights in the family. Exactly, Preetham. In toto, there is a dichotomy in demand and supply, inter alia, the slow production. Very good. Very good. You have used in toto, you have used inter alia, you have used dichotomy. Brilliant. So moving forward to the next one, the next word is unfathomable, and this is a very common word. And I think most of you might already know the meaning of it. Unfathomable ka matlab hota hai something which is not fully understood. That means you haven't understood that particular thing properly. Okay? Unfathomable ka matlab hota hai something which you can't fathom, right? That means which you can't fully explore. So, yes, Sanchit, absolutely. So, Vaishnavi, you've got another remark of appreciation here from Sanchit. Her grey eyes were dark with some unfathomable emotion. That means the emotions you cannot really catch. It's hard to explore, it's hard to understand. The philosophical theory was unfathomable for most of us. Generally, it's very hard to understand philosophy, right? Sometimes my teacher's talk is unfathomable. Sakshi, just rephrase that statement. Sometimes my teacher's talk is unfathomable. Okay? And there is a strong dichotomy between modern scientific practices And religion. Absolutely great, Samiksha. Have I, okay. Aryan, I haven't really got any of your examples. I'm really sorry, but this is the first time I'm like reading your comment here. अभी तक मुझे तुम्हारा एक भी example नहीं दिखा है. So can you please send it again? I'll definitely read it out. ठीक है? It's not anything that you have done, it's just that I haven't received it. ठीक है? So moving forward to the next word, trivializing. When you trivialize something, that means you treat it as unimportant. You don't give it enough attention. Okay? Is there anybody who could read Aryan's examples? क्योंकि मुझे नहीं दिखा है अभी तक. So when I trivialize something, that means I am treating it as less important. I'm treating it as insignificant. I'm not paying enough attention. Okay? So he is trivializing the situation. That means he is treating the situation as unimportant, although the situation should require immediate attention. Okay? Similarly, another examples from you guys. Mathematics is an unfathomable subject. Preetham, us, all of us, I think. The college textbook seemed unfathomable to the middle school students. Very good, Drishti. Exactly. So mathematics, some of the college textbooks, they are definitely unfathomable. Okay? And when you trivialize a particular situation, that means you do not give enough attention. You treat it as unimportant, although that situation might be important. But तुम उसको ऐसे treat कर रहे हो as if it's nothing. Okay? So, the way she trivialized her hardships made me respect her even more. Some people go through a lot of hardships, but when they talk about it, they make it look like, oh, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था, मैंने तो बहुत कर लिया बस. I just crossed that, dire situation. Sometimes we treat our dreams as trivializing, and we should never do that, Drishti, right? English newspaper is unfathomable for Hindi students, Hindi medium students. Very good example, Priya. The space being unfathomable is a topic of interest for humans. Everything that's unexplored is always a matter of interest for us human beings. In ancient periods, poor people were trivialized. Preetham, just change the sentence a little bit. Were trivialized. Okay? And the next one. Inadvertently. When you do something inadvertently, that means you do it without any intention. That means unintentionally अगर आप कोई चीज करते हो या accidentally आपसे कोई चीज हो जाती है, that means you are doing it inadvertently. ऐसा कभी हुआ है कि आपने inadvertently अपनी बेस्ट फ्रेंड का सीक्रेट किसी और को बता दिया हो? Vaibhav, that's one hell of an example here. The way we trivialize our examination, I think we should all get an award for that, right? So, unintentionally, please start using the word inadvertently whenever you are trying to use the word unintentionally or accidentally. It's a, I would say, more polished, refined version of accidentally, right? Let's see the example. He had inadvertently given away their secret, right? Unintentionally बेचारे ने secret ही reveal कर दिया. She inadvertently, oh sorry, broke my favorite glass. She unintentionally broke my favorite glass. Sometimes I tell anything inadvertently. Sometimes People inadvertently make mistakes. Sanjay, change that sentence a little bit, okay? The great grass sea was such an unfathomable mass of land that even Khal Drogo struggled to conquer the whole. Sanidhya, great example. Politicians trivialize the situations, inter alia the protest. We trivialize our real friends over fake ones. Very good. Great examples. We should not trivialize the importance of good education. I think that's a very important point that you have raised here, Aishwarya. And bad type of blackmailing. Vedant, you should not do that. Preetham, is that for real? Preetham has just written, I had given the board examination inadvertently. But Sakshi, what do you tell inadvertently? You need to actually write that down. Sometimes telling a lie may end up inadvertently hurting others. Drishti, just add the word hurting there. She inadvertently deleted the file. Okay, Vaibhav, I think you have missed out on a word there in the example that you have given. My dash. Okay, she inadvertently hurt her parents by her actions. Yes, generally we do certain things and that kind of hurt our parents, but हमें पता ही नहीं चलता है, right? So moving to the editorial for the day, and it's about farming consensus. You already know how farmers have been fighting for their rights, and it has been many years. Although 2012, maybe the farmers tried, raising their voices. They tried to protest. Some laws were changed, but not much has been done ever since. So, as you can see, this particular piece of writing is about the farming consensus on the government and the farmers on protest, and we'll try to understand this in super simple language. ठीक है? I think one last example from you guys. I think she inadvertently gave all the nuances of the crime, detaining her only friend. Okay, that means you turned your best friend into your enemy, right, Vaishnavi? She inadvertently deleted her Telegram account. Sanchit, yes. Just remove was from there. And Preetham, I understood. So let's try to understand what's going on in this particular piece of writing. हम बहुत ही simple तरीके से समझने की कोशिश करेंगे. Imagine that there are lots of farmers in Punjab, and there are, right? And they are obviously very, very upset about the farming situation. ठीक है, क्योंकि तुम लोगों ने सुना ही होगा कि पंजाब में farmers के जो rights हैं, they are not really, I would say, they are not really working the way they should. So obviously, the farmers are demanding for some guarantees from the government to help them out. Farmers चाहते हैं कि government हमें कुछ guarantees दे, ठीक है? और जब government हमें कुछ guarantee देगी तो automatically the situation would not be as dire as it is right now. So firstly, what do they want? They want a fair price for their crops. देखो यार, farmers बहुत ज़्यादा मेहनत करते हैं. You already know the amount of hard work, uh, that goes into farming. We can't really, it's actually unfathomable for us to understand, right? So they want a fair price for the crops that they sell. They also want the government to forgive their debts. वो चाहते हैं कि जो हमारे debts थे, यानी कि हमने जो भी loans लिए होंगे, some of the loans should be forgiven, okay? And some of the agreements that they might have signed in the past, that should also be cancelled, because all of these things are hurting the farmers as well as the farming in that particular region. Plus, they are also asking for a minimum amount of money each month for the farmers who are getting older, just like pension schemes. Pensions में भी यही होता है ना, तो farmers को भी तो pension मिलना चाहिए. Once the farmers are old, obviously they do not have the kind of strength to, continue with their farming activities. तो उन farmers को भी आपको pension schemes या आप बोल सकते हो pensions देनी चाहिए regularly. ठीक है, because they cannot really work as much anymore. So these were the same farmers who kind of protested in the year 2021 and 2022. Only some laws were changed by the government back then. But now a new group of farmers are basically spearheading another protest. Spearheading का मतलब होता है leading another protest, because obviously some of their concerns are still not resolved. अभी तक उनकी कुछ problems है जो अभी तक उनके कुछ answers उन्हें नहीं मिले हैं. ठीक है? There are some other groups of farmers who are basically protesting from some for some other reasons. For example, कुछ group of farmers है जो इसलिए लड़ाई कर रहे हैं कि उनके जो लैंड्स है वो इलीगली ले लिए गए हैं फॉर एयरपोर्ट्स, फॉर पावर केबल्स. तो कुछ फार्मर्स हैं वो इसलिए लड़ाई कर रहे हैं क्योंकि उन लोगों के लैंड्स इलीगली उनसे छीन लिए गए हैं. नाउ द थिंग इज, द गवर्नमेंट इज टॉकिंग टू द फार्मर्स फ्रॉम पंजाब. ठीक है? बट ऐसा मतलब अभी अगर हम प्रेडिक्ट कर सकते हैं तो हमें ये समझ में आता है कि it seems highly unlikely that the government is going to agree to, give them a guarantee for fair prices for their crops. तो मतलब गवर्नमेंट ऐसा लग नहीं रहा है कि अग्री करेगी to give them the fair prices. ठीक है? The police are also stopping the farmers from getting too close to Delhi. क्योंकि अगर वो दिल्ली में आ जाएंगे तो obviously there is going to be a lot of protest, there is going to be a lot of conflicts. ठीक है? Then the farmers are also saying that the current system helps some farmers but not all of them, but it's not really fair to every farmer. तो कुछ farmers को तो help कर रही है जो current system है, but सभी को ही नहीं कर रही है. They think it also encourages the farmers to grow too much of certain crops. देखो क्या होता है कि every area has this, I would say, limitation of growing a particular crop for a period of time. But अगर ऐसा नहीं होता है तो we can see here, just a second. Yes. If a particular farmer keeps on growing the same crop over and over again, the fertility of the land somehow gets spoiled in the process. So इसकी वजह से the farmer has to undergo a lot of losses. ठीक है? So हम देख सकते हैं यहाँ पे कि have I missed out on anything? Okay, I just read Shazli ma'am's comment. Thank you so much, Shazli ma'am. Okay, coming back to this. Yes, the explanation of the passage. तो हम देख सकते हैं कि if we keep on growing the same crop, same kind of crop, it's not really beneficial for the farmers. And that's the reason the farmers will undergo a lot of losses. So they want the government to come up with better plans which can actually help the farmers. And it can also basically ensure enough food for everyone in the country. Because obviously, if the farmers stop doing their jobs, just imagine what's going to happen to the entire country. How are we going to get our basic food? Okay, so obviously, the farmers' concerns are very much legit, and the government should definitely come up with a policy or a scheme which can actually benefit our farmers. So that's basically the summary of this particular passage. If you haven't understood anything, do let me know. I can re-explain. Okay. So हम देख सकते हैं यहाँ पे it provides us this particular passage provides us lots and lots of information. It's basically informational and analytical in its approach. It talks about the pros and cons of certain schemes. So analytical वाला भी angle है इसमें जुड़ा हुआ. So can anybody tell me what could be the tone of this passage? Sanchit, yes. Obviously, for the government, some of the demands could look like unreasonable, but ठीक है यार, हर demand तो unreasonable नहीं हो सकती ना. कुछ demands भले unreasonable है तो you can, reject it. But some of the demands, some of the concerns are definitely very, very reasonable and they should be given their due attention, right? So coming to the main idea part. What is the main idea? Can anybody tell me? So Vaibhav, you're right about that. And this might turn into a huge chaos, and somehow it's not affecting other farmers around the northeast of our southern part. Actually, Aryan, your concerns are also very much valid, बट द थिंग इज, अब यहाँ पे देखो क्या है कि if I talk about old farmers getting the pensions, I think it's going to be very, very fruitful for every farmer around and across the country. Zaruri nahi, I'm not talking about the farmers in the southern area or farmers from the northern area. अगर पेंशन मिल रही है ओल्डर फार्मर्स को तो ये उनके लिए सही में बेनिफिशियल है, नो मैटर फ्रॉम वेयर यू कम फ्रॉम, राइट? सो हम बोल सकते हैं कि द टोन ऑफ दिस पैसेज वाज प्राइमरीली इंफॉर्मेशनल and analytical. Okay, and basically it talks about the protest of farmers in Delhi to fulfill the 7 demands made by the farmers, which government is delaying, but they want the government to accept it. Exactly, very good take on main idea, very good Drishti. And okay, let's talk about the few important concerns that can sum up our main idea. So the farmers are protesting as some of their concerns are not been answered, have not been answered, right? The government is in talks with the farmers, but it seems unlikely that they will agree to every demand of the farmers. Then you can also talk about what are the concerns. First of all, paying pension to the older farmers, right? Also, for some farmers, some of the schemes are beneficial. That means it's, I would say, highly unjust for the other farmers. So that's another issue. And the government is trying to kind of limit their presence in Delhi because it will lead to further conflicts. So that's another point that can be raised here. And let me read some of your takeaways from the main idea. In toto, the farmers' protest is not completely unreasonable, which is being detained by the government. Some middle path must be discussed to remove the fissure. Very well put, Vaishnavi. Lovely. And the government should not be the ivory tower to the farmers' need of rapprochement, right? Creating a huge mess surely doesn't help much. Exactly, Aryan. And the demands of the farmers among the big protest, ठीक है? Basically, it's based on the present situation of farmers, exactly, Sanchit. And anything else that I've missed? Not all of them are unreasonable. Some of them might be deemed as unreasonable by the government because the government might not want to fulfill it. ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि कुछ demands unreasonable ना हो, but government को ऐसा लगता हो कि नहीं, हमें इस चीज में इतना पैसा इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहिए, सो वो उसको दे विल लेबल इट एज अनरीजनेबल, ऐसा भी होता है, ठीक है? सो मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट basically segment, which is our quiz, and this is from the very first passage, rescuing grace from disgrace. Is there anybody who's already read this passage? देखो, I would like to give you a summary of this particular passage. So it basically discusses the traditional addresses which were made by the President of India and the governors to the Parliament and the legislative assemblies. तो यहाँ पे बात ये होती है कि जो ceremonial nature होता है of these addresses, ठीक है, जब भी speeches दी जाती है या audience को address किया जाता है, the drafting process of these ceremonial speeches, and also the suggested reforms to streamline the entire procedure. तो इसमें ये बोला गया है कि sometimes it becomes very tedious, sometimes it becomes very boring and dull for the audience, and the people might feel disconnected from the purpose for which the speech was made. ठीक है? So this particular article proposes changes to make these addresses more efficient and meaningful. So that's basically the summary of this particular passage. Now, let me first discuss all of these tones and then I would like to know your answer. Okay? Pedestrian, something which is pedestrian. Okay, I have already shown you the answer. The answer was evaluative, by the way, because it is critical as well as it is contemplative. Okay? So let me just give you, yeah. Pedestrian का मतलब होता है something uninteresting, dull, regular, boring. Okay? The answer is evaluative because pedestrian वो उन speeches को बोल रहा है. The article is not pedestrian in its tone. Understand the difference between the two. ठीक है? The article in itself is not uninteresting. The article talks about speeches which are pedestrian. So there's a difference. The tone is not pedestrian. ठीक है? Coming back to the answer, which is evaluative because it is critical about these speeches, and contemplative. Contemplative का मतलब है वो उन speeches के बारे में सोच रहा है, and it's also suggestive कि आपकी speeches थोड़ी efficient होनी चाहिए, थोड़ी interesting होनी चाहिए, जिससे कि audience जो है they basically pay attention to it. ठीक है? Cautious का मतलब होता है when somebody alerts or warns you. So obviously, this particular article is not really a cautious one. It's not a cautionary tale, right? And preach. What is the meaning of preach? When you try to teach through instructions. ऐसा बोला जाता है ना, practice what you preach. कुछ लोगों को आदत होती है ज्ञान देने की, but वो खुद उस ज्ञान को practice नहीं करते हैं. So it's very important that you also practice what you try to teach everybody else. ठीक है? So definitely not preach. Exactly, Aryan. The answer is evaluative. ठीक है? Moving to the second article of the day, a demand that could hamper gender equality. And which demand are we talking about? We are talking about period leaves here. So obviously, period leaves are basically for all the women, and it's a very important leave because I don't know whether you guys are aware, but menstruation is actually a very painful process, and the women has to go through that painful process for somewhere around a week, and that's the reason these period leaves have been made mandatory in some of the organizations. ठीक है? And कुछ लोग बोलते हैं कि जेंडर इक्वालिटी के लिए ये पीरियड लीव्स होनी ही नहीं चाहिए. आप एक तरफ बोल रहे हो कि men and women are equal, but then you are giving period leaves to women. But the writer is obviously against this particular thought process, and this particular article argues against such demands. And देखो वो यहाँ पे ये बोलना चाहता है कि राइट आर्टिकल में ये बोलना चाह रहे हैं बेसिकली कि यू शुड नॉट रियली हैव दीज पीरियड लीव्स बिकॉज इससे जेंडर डिस्पैरिटीज बढ़ रही है. This also perpetuates the social stigma attached to periods. ठीक है? And it also creates some practical challenges in implementation क्योंकि then many women from the organization might be on leave on the same day. ठीक है? The author also emphasizes the need for some in-depth approaches to address the menstrual challenges. वो ये चाहता है कि inclusivity बढ़े. It should promote inclusivity and it should also promote individual support. So what do you think should be the answer? It was a little bit critical and it was a little bit alarming. So what could be the answer? I think most of you have given the answer correctly. The answer is cautionary. and absolutely correct. Comic, कहीं भी कुछ comical funny element नहीं था. Gloomy means something which expresses depressingly dark things, so ऐसा भी नहीं था. Ridicule means when you are trying to mock somebody, so again cannot be ridicule. So the clear cut answer was cautionary or critical. Okay. The next one is pension concerns on the EPFO recommendation. By the way, I also have a task for the day for all of you. So the task for the day is, you guys have seen all of these tones today. Some new tones also you must have come across. I want you to pick up any tone of your choice. Pick any one tone and explain it using a relatable example. And anybody who gives the best example here, that comment would be pinned on top, and obviously your comment will be the comment of the day. So you will have to respond to it once the class is done. So pick any tone of your choice and explain it through a relatable example, because it has always been seen that when you study tones using relatable examples, it's always very easy to remember. Okay? So coming back to the last article of the day, pension concerns on the EPFO recommendation. So this particular passage actually discusses the recommendation of the Central Board of Trustees of the Employers Provident Fund organization for a slight increase in the PF. वो चाहते हैं कि जो PF है, पेंशन जो मिलती है, उसको थोड़ा सा बढ़ा दिया जाए. It also addresses concerns regarding the minimum pension amount, कि कितना amount minimum होना चाहिए कि इतनी तो pension मिलनी ही है आपको. And the government's reluctance, obviously, जहां पे भी पैसा खर्च करने की बात आती है, the government will always be reluctant. ठीक है, गवर्नमेंट बोल रहा है कि नहीं, कोई जरूरत नहीं है बढ़ाने की पेंशन. And despite several demands from various quarters, हर क्वार्टर में यही डिमांड है कि पेंशन को थोड़ा सा बढ़ाया जाए. ठीक है. The passage also highlights the discrepancies in pension amounts. किसी किसी को तो बहुत ज्यादा पेंशन मिल रही है, किसी को बहुत ही कम मिल रही है. And that's why it's very much needed that you need to have a comprehensive approach to pension fund matters. And that's basically the summary of this particular passage. So can anybody tell me what could be the answer? It was critical. Very good, Avi. You have picked the correct answer. Obviously, it's critical. And what's the meaning of pessimistic? Pessimistic means when you think of everything in a negative light, negatively thinking about everything, a very hopeless approach, to be honest. Okay. And choleric, any idea about choleric? Have you heard of the name of the disease, cholera? Yes, I think all of you have answered it correctly. Good job. Dekho, every time you suffer from a disease, and I'm not talking about just cholera, I'm talking about any disease, तो आपका जो behavior होता है, it changes because you are angry, furious, easily annoyed, right? So just remember it from the name of the disease cholera, कि disease में हमें कैसा feel होता है? We feel very, very angry. We feel furious at the slightest of inconveniences. We feel easily annoyed. हमें हर चीज पे गुस्सा आता है. हमें खिचड़ी क्यों दी जा रही है खाने में, हमें उस पे गुस्सा आ जाएगा, right? So choleric is something that makes you furious, irritated. Yes, exactly, Roshan. And woeful means something that fills you with sadness. So, have you already decided which tone you're going to pick for the day? I hope I'm going to see some really wonderful examples in the chat box. And yeah, I cannot really wait to see your take on it. So be prepared. If you want, I can just again show you all the different tones. So यहाँ से हम देख सकते हैं. We have studied pedestrian today. We have studied evaluative, cautious, preach, then cautionary, comic, gloomy, ridicule. Again, the examples should be relatable. ऐसे examples जो हर किसी को याद रहे. ऐसा example जिसने भी use किया, your comment would be the comment of the day. And I'll pin it to the very top. ठीक है? Thank you so much for your time, everyone. And I'll be seeing you again. Bye-bye. Have a great day. woeful का मतलब होता है जो चीज आपको बहुत दुखी कर दे. Anything that makes you really depressed, really sad is woeful. You're welcome, everyone. Bye bye. See you again.